calm down. He's not going to employ anyone now. Welcome, Gert.
Thank you very much. I'm not exactly sure who that person is you're talking about, but he sounds pretty impressive.
I've heard about him in the industry. I don't know.
If you live long enough, you'll do it all.
Speaking about doing it all, we're starting with IMDb Roulette. You were forewarned, but in your defense, you were forewarned about 10 seconds ago.
Yep.
So let's see how this goes. The idea is that I ask you the weirdest questions I can and see what you have the answers to. So to start off with, what is your very first IMDb credit?
I'm guessing it would be something at Pact.
Film
No.
and an international, I think. I think it's that.
Arende?
Purgatory.
Oh my word,
1988.
Purgatory.
That takes you back.
Yeah, boy.
Welcome to IMDb Roulette. Then, next question. Who did you play in the TV series Oos Wes?
Yucky.
Yeah, nice one.
Yes.
Good. Now
Just because Mr. Brain constantly said, yucky.
it's imprinted in your
Yes,
head.
it is.
The next one is a grey area because I'm not actually sure whether this is correct. But how many episodes did Igoli have?
Yeah, a lot, eh? 5,000.
Close. According to IMDb, it's 4,545.
Yeah.
So
around
that's
about there.
accurate.
It was a long time, eh?
Now, the next question, the fourth question in IMDb Roulette. How many of those 4,500 did you direct?
I would guess between 1,800 and 2,000.
I have no idea, but I think that's an accurate guess. That's a lot of television.
Yeah, it is.
And that's one job, right, that
Yep.
you've done.
That was one.
Last question. What shoes did you wear in Konings?
Valleys, I would imagine. I don't know.
I have no idea, but I'm assuming being army sergeant, it might be boots.
Boots. Yeah, probably.
But that's an assumption we're making.
Yeah, probably boots. Yeah, probably.
I was
those-
scared for a second. There was a half a second you looked
Yeah,
at
and
me
they're
and you were
always
like,
too small, eh? Because they always give you a size smaller because you go a size 10, and then they go, yeah, but boots is always bigger, and then they always give you a size 9.
And it is never bigger.
No, it's always this.
Part of the torture.
That's why you always take your own shoes.
First lesson.
Yeah.
First
take your
lesson.
shoes.
You survived IMDb Roulette swimmingly.
Thank you.
Well done.
Didn't feel like it, but
No, look, I've seen worse.
all right.
To start off with, the idea here is for us to take a little bit of a journey because you didn't get plonked onto this earth with all your knowledge. You gained it over time. And I'm hoping by making lots of mistakes, which is the best. But starting with learning, you studied at Tuks between 1982 and 85, right?
That's correct.
Did you do an honours then?
No,
If
I
I do
did
my
not, because simply I had to start work to earn money because my dad went 3 years, that's what you got. If you can't make it work in 3 years, then go and do something else, become a plumber or electrician. So no, I only did the 3 years, and I was very, very, very fortunate because I got to study under, well, I actually had one master class with Anna Niekerk, which was
that's cool.
quite incredible. Tannie met die koeksister. Then we had Karel Trigaard and Aubrey Leroux and Fred Stein, some really, really solid teachers. Unfortunately, the courses at that time was very theoretically based because it was a university and nobody took us seriously. So it was almost like you were doing two things at the same time. You had to do a full normal university course with English, German, Afrikaans or whatever. And a lot of the girls did a teacher's diploma as well. And then you had to do the BA drama course.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so at the time we worked really, really hard because in the mornings you would usually have normal classes for whatever subjects you were doing, and then you would go to the masker, which was like on the back of the university at that time. We usually wore shorts and the oldest T-shirts that we could find because that was the fashion.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that walking between the khaki-clad lawn-post students was a bit weird.
Quite a contrast.
Yeah, it was quite a contrast. Yeah, then we did the afternoon into the evenings, and what they did, because they started the course, if you can call it that, from the packed system. And so we were constantly we're acting in one play, which we were playing at night, and then we were rehearsing another play that would carry on straight after that. And in between that, you would have voice classes and movement classes and all the theoretical stuff, because you had to pass 3 theoretical drama courses, plus all the practicals, and your normal university to actually pass the year. Yeah, so it was a very, very, very hard work. And we did, well, I think you guys do the same. We did all the technical work. So we did lighting, we did sound, we did stage management, all of that. So that sort of built up through the 3 years. So it was hectic.
That's a hardcore,
Yeah. We worked very, very hard. But the thing that we got from that is the discipline. And I think the most important thing is that you learn how to put the whole thing together. Is that it's not just about the actors or just about the lights or just about whatever. It's a team working together to create a piece of magic that the audience will look at and go, oh, wow, yeah. And the trick is to put all of that stuff together, and without the audience realizing how much it took to have that actor standing in that one specific spot, that spot to come on at the right time so that you can do your soliloquy and
be fancy.
It's amazing, yeah, and we did a wide range of work. We did children's plays, we went to schools, we did prescribed works, because that was at the same time, PAC then just started, the PACT Youth Company, I can't remember the exact name now, but it was part of doing the prescribed works, which was a lot of Shakespeare at the time. Take it to the schools to introduce children to theatre. And we slotted into that. So once a year, a few of us were lucky enough to actually take part in a packed production, specifically to go to the schools, because school children is another audience. They have no mercy whatsoever.
I didn't realize that course was designed around that pact for the Performing Arts Council.
Well, it was because that was the only, because Tant Anna was from theatre.
Yeah.
So I think the whole system, as she put it in place, excluding the theory, was based on to train actors to be professionals and to be able, as you walk out of university, to go straight into a professional company, remembering that there was no TV in South Africa at that point.
True.
Yeah. So the only option for you was to go into theatre, and the arts councils were obviously the place where you wanted to be, because it was amazing at that time. You had a pension fund and you had medical aid, all of that stuff was lined
recently
up.
learned also TBF deductions, which I didn't know before.
Absolutely, they did a TBF deduction. So that was the aim of everybody at that point, was to get into a arts council, and the arts councils had the youth company, which you would then start in for a year or 2 years or whatever, and then slowly get introduced into the main flow of the productions. And they had an English production, English company and Afrikaans company.
You worked in both of those.
Yes, we did.
I want to get to that a bit later, but you tended to jump between both the kind of companies.
Well, I think luck has got a lot to do with it. Because men at that point, it wasn't a very popular choice for men to go and study drama.
Okay, fair.
So there were only 3 of us in my drama group.
Wow.
And we started, I can't remember exactly, but I think we started off the first years, we were like 24, but I'm sure you still find it now. The first year there's always a huge bunch, and then it sort of halves by the second year, and by the third year we were only 6 people.
Wow.
And I was the only one that actually got a job with PACT straight out of university. I think it's a natural selection process.
Yeah.
And at that time, I don't know about now, but at that time, a lot of specifically the females that studied drama eventually ended up teaching.
Or married.
Or married.
Yeah.
That was an option.
Well, in that time period, you were either married or working.
Yeah.
You know.
And it was different times because it was really, there wasn't a lot of work. If you didn't get into because the festivals wasn't happening yet. Pact also started that a little bit later. As part of everybody think that Karen Meyering started the festivals.
I've got questions about that actually, yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of options. There were the 5 arts councils, and then if you didn't get in there, and the great thing was that you could travel between them. So they were all under the same umbrella, and you could go to Natal, or you could go to the Free State, or you could go to Cape Town. And what they did with a lot of the bigger, more expensive, the Shakespeare production, is the productions actually traveled from province to province to province. Yeah. So we were exposed to a lot of different audiences and a lot of different directors and a lot of different actors.
I want to take one step back. You said something interesting that I didn't know, that your father obviously was the great Louis van Niekerk, very successful actor, very well-known director. But you mentioned earlier that he said, dude, 3 years if you can't make it work. Yeah. That's fascinating to me that him being so successful gave you that ultimatum.
Well, it's actually started earlier because when I did school plays, and then when I wrote Matric, I was always convinced from about standard 6, which was now grade 8 or whatever you call it now, that I wanted to be an actor. And at standard 9, he actually said, do you still want to do this? And I went, yes. And he said, okay, cool. I want you to think about it first. So you're going to the army for 2 years, which was still a problem at that time. And he gave me the 3 Stanislavski books. He said, you take those books and you read them and absorb them. And if you come back and you still want to do it, then we can talk, which I did. I actually took those 3 books through the 2 years in the army, like my little 3 Stanislavski books. And at the end of the army bit, I said, yeah, no, I still want to do it. And then he went, okay, cool, you've got 3 years. If you fail, you're out.
Wow.
Then you'll have to go and find something else. And I'm not paying for, because the honours was a nice thing to do. I don't think it would have made much of a difference. It didn't make any difference in your salary anywhere. At that time, academic thing wasn't really important. So, and the honours here at Taki specifically was mainly productions. You actually did, I think, like 12 productions in that year.
Wow.
But it was with the same teachers, it was with the same lecturers. So, and his point was that it's no use doing more stuff with the same people that have trained you for 3 years. You need to get out there. So that's what I did. And
in your specific case, you stepped basically out of varsity into Pact.
Yes.
Which you were doing in productions anyway, right?
Yeah, I was very fortunate because at the end of my 3rd year, they did one of those boere dramas that I can't remember the name of now. And there was a character, a son of an actor called Michael Brunner, played my father. And I got shot before the curtain even went up. That was my part. And so I got that part simply because they wanted someone cheap. And I think my dad wanted me to experience the discipline because remember, it was a 3-month run. It wasn't a thing of 2 or 3 weeks. It was a 3-month run, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, Sunday off, and then you carry on again on Monday. And I think he specifically wanted me to experience that rigor of doing that the whole time and doing it well every night. And he directed the play. Wow. And one of my favorite stories is with young actors now, is because he wanted me to sort of sit on my haunches in the beginning, and then my dad had this rifle and he shot me, and as the shot went off, the lights dimmed, and that was the beginning of the play. But it was really uncomfortable, and I had to fall over, otherwise this blank would go through my brain, which would have been really uncomfortable. And when he blocked the scene, I, in all my 3-year, 21-year-old arrogance, said, this is really an uncomfortable position for me to sit in. I don't think it's possible. And he went, and he sat down and he said, if I can do it, you can do it. And that was the last of that argument. And it worked perfectly well. My knees probably took a little bit of a beating every night. And the timing was crucial because we didn't have all the fancy special effects that we have now.
Yeah.
So it was a gun with a blank in it, and as Michael pulled that trigger, I had to be out of the way, and the lights dimmed, and the curtains went up, and the rest of the play started.
A blank on stage, and whatever happens, happens, you know.
And there's no safety or anything. It's just do it.
And then just for the record, the director put his son in front of the
Yes.
blank.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just so we understand the situation.
He was very much into challenges because we also did a play at school, and the Axe,
Yes.
which is quite a thing.
See Louis Leopold.
See Louis Leipold, and that was just after because Louis played Prospero. No, it's not Prospero. It's the anyway. Doesn't matter. He didn't play the Cardinal. Franz Marx actually played the Cardinal. Lekker at Pact. So then the teacher decided, no, this is a good play for matrics to do, and that I should play the Cardinal. Which, after Franz Marx playing it at Pact, was not something that I really wanted to do.
Relished, yeah.
And I was hoping that no one would see it. Anyway, long story short, we rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. And then the guy that played the friar got sick, like 2 days before the opening. And Louis, who was sort of giving advice to the teacher, said, so have you got a stand-in? She went, no, we're going to have to cancel this thing. It's not going to happen. And he said, okay, cool, I'll do it. And he stepped in 2 days. So I actually got to play that whole thing with him, which was pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really weird. And I will never forget that first night when I walked onto that stage. And as I walked on, because opening there's a long speech, and halfway through the speech I actually realized what the hell was happening. And I looked to the side and I saw Louis standing in the wings, and I thought, shit. shit. But it went well, yeah. So he was constantly, my point is actually that he was putting me in really difficult positions, because as an actor and as a director, as anybody in the arts, you will definitely be confronted by stuff that makes you uncomfortable,
Yeah.
which is the best stuff to do. And it took me a while to realize that it was actually a good thing. That at the time I just thought he was being mean and vindictive, but later on I realized that even when you're nervous and scared and you think you won't be able to do it, the best challenge and the biggest growth that you will ever get is from something that seems impossible, even if it's only sitting on your knees and being bloody uncomfortable while some other old guy that can't see properly is going to fire a gun at your head. Yeah, and somehow it creates a thing in your mind that you can do anything. It's a question of looking at it and dissecting it, analyzing it, and putting it into the right place in your brain, and then trusting yourself enough to just go and believe in the moment, believe in the people around you, and don't fuck it up.
It was hardcore.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about him and others, because he obviously directed you many times, but you also worked with Dieter Reibler,
Yeah.
Pieter Fourie, François Swart.
Yeah.
That's some big directors.
Yeah, I was lucky because I sort of got into the end era of the heyday of the arts councils. And yeah, François was there. Incredible director. Very, very difficult person. And I think the reason why François was so successful is because he had a permanent company that he worked with. So it was Marius and Sandra and Louis and Toby, that lot, Christine Basson, that lot. But they were a permanent company. So they all knew what François' little quirks were. And he was a difficult bastard. I mean, he was really, really difficult. He used to direct at the back of the auditorium in the State Theatre. He'd sit right in the back so you couldn't see him. And so we would block the scene, and then he would go and sit there, and then there's nothing. It's just the silence. And you play, and you do a little move, and then all of a sudden he goes, no! And then there's nothing. And you wait, and everybody else knows what's going to happen. Then eventually he comes down with a more of a walk, because he was a very good mover. And then he would demonstrate. and go, okay, you need to do, and there were very specific tricks at that time from Francois about how you move on stage, how you turn, and if you have to walk backwards, how you talk so that the audience can still hear you, because that auditorium was bloody big.
Yeah.
And then he would demonstrate this thing, and he always blocked the thing in a triangle working to the back so that the audience could see everybody. And God help you if you got that position wrong. It was meticulously blocked down to the thing. And then it flounce back and he go, again. And then you do it again, he goes, no! And then you know, okay, bug it up, the move, because you had to turn like on your left ball if you have to go to the right, all that stuff. And he would just repeat it over and over and over. The good thing is, however, by the time you got all that stuff right, you could concentrate on the performance. So in the end, the method behind the madness was you take all the clutter away, worry about the moves, are you going to hit the mark? And the same thing applies to television now, because it's exactly the same principle. I mean, if the camera is on this side, it's no use talking like this, because it's going to be a shitty shot. So it creates an awareness of where the audience or the camera or whatever is. And the same thing when you do a turn on set, there is a specific way to do it so that it looks natural, and it puts you in the right spot without stepping to this side and that side, because then the whole shot has to do this.
Yeah.
And then you can concentrate on the acting, which is, I really think, one of the, well, I try and impart it to the actors still today, that get the basics right in the rehearsal, focus on where your marks are, focus on where the cameras are, know what shot size you're acting for, and then forget about it, because your body memory will retain all of that stuff, and then you can focus on the performance and actually look the actor in the eyes.
There's an interesting thought process there for me that I didn't realize before. Igoli, Simonlaan, both of which I did, had those blocking sessions in the mornings.
Yeah.
Nobody else, as far as I know, did that.
No, we can't do it.
But it feels to me that that's carried from that tradition of getting those moves down, not worrying about that, and then we go shoot.
Absolutely. Also remember that the actors at the time of Igoli, nobody had the camera experience that people are born with now, because it's much more natural for people now to work with a camera than it was at the time. I mean, all those actors came from a theatre background. So number one, the style of acting for camera was completely foreign to all of them. Brilliance of Frans Marx. And just I think it was a little bit easier technically on Igoli, because they had cameras on the moving pads. So the camera could adjust a little bit if you didn't hit it 100%. But now, as soon as you start shooting single cam on a tripod, obviously positions become very, very, very crucial. So we had, sorry, to get back to your point, is that we had a 2-hour blocking session in the morning, and we shot 1 episode a day, every single day in sequence. One of Frans Marx's great rules that obviously nobody can do anymore, because nobody has the luxury. So we had a rehearsal room, and the director and the dialogue coach and the continuity goal, which turned out to be the switcher at the end, the person that switches, because it was all between 3 cameras that shot at the same time, and not all 3 of them recorded at the same time, so you had to switch between the certain cameras according to the script that the director prepared. So we'd block the whole thing in a room with the actors, and then the director would give notes, obviously, and then 9:45 we'd usually be finished with that, and then we start shooting it. What it did mean is, which was great, which we don't have anymore, unfortunately, is that it gave the actors time to think about what notes were given to them in the morning. And while they were doing makeup and wardrobe and all of that stuff, they could run those scenes again with the dialogue coach, which was present with the director. So I think that I don't want to say the level of the performance, but the intimacy of the performance was a lot.
Well, it's well rehearsed and seated, right? So you could just perform. When I was at the end of Igoli, I was obviously a young actor, and we had to run with a dialogue coach. And I was summoned to Christine Basson's dressing room with the dialogue coach. I have in my life never been that scared.
Yeah.
Because even where I sit in the dressing room, I was like, just don't sit wrong. You know, I don't know, it's just very intimidating.
Yeah, no, Christine is one of the pillars of Igoli. And I think between her and Brumilda, Charlene, to a lesser extent, they were like the discipline people. Because you don't fuck with Christine Basson.
Yeah,
if she
absolutely.
tells you to be in the dressing room at a certain time to come and run lines, then you do it. And if she said she's done, then she's done. Don't go, I want to do it again. I don't, and she's just, I'm done, go.
Yeah.
And it created a discipline on set. And Christine was like a machine because at the time, she was the only character that had a lounge and a kitchen set. And I can remember endless scenes that I blocked. And when I told Christine the blocking in the morning run, she would go, huh, you want me to do all of this and say the dialogue? I go, yeah, and eat your mark. And then she would go to the set and work out. She's got to pick up the pan here, and she always had this thing with a faruk that had to go over this shoulder or this shoulder. At that time, because we shot everything continuously and we were switching between cameras, continuity wasn't such a big thing. But she would work out that thing down to the last second, and God help you if you don't say your lines properly. So there was a lot of, and we had, Henny Smith had a dog, a Great Dane, that was called, I think, Rufus or something. Anyway, he would end up many a time with the dog literally dragging him through the set in this way, out through, and then Christine would go, ha! No, she was awesome.
She ended up, well, when I really got to work with her, obviously at Igoli a little bit, but she was a dialogue coach on Siemendlaan towards the end of her life. And she was lovely, and she was always kind to me because I suppose we kind of agreed on a structured way of working. But nevertheless, even though I've only had good experiences with her, for a long time I've had a recurring nightmare before a stage show that I forget my lines, I walk backstage and she is behind the cyc walking down on me. I run out, get in my car and leave the theatre. That's always the nightmare, just Christine Basson barreling down on me.
No, she was an incredible woman. She had a lot of empathy for actors. I think she understood the whole acting thing really, really well. But she never indulged in it. She would give advice and she would help, but she never indulged in stuff. It's a job. Altyd gesê, it's a job, my baby. You need to arrive, you need to know your lines, you need to walk on, you need to do your job, and then you can go and cry at home or worry about your dog or your finances or your car that's broken down or anything. And don't ever be late.
Oh, that's
bottom line.
That's a recurring theme with all these interviews with giving advice to young actors. It's amazing how being on time is important.
Well, you know, it's not really just being on time, because I believe my reason for insisting that people arrive, if you're there at 5:02, then you're 10 minutes late. You need to be there at 1:45. And what it creates is it puts your mind at ease, because if you run into a shoot or a rehearsal or whatever you're going to do, I'm half confused about the traffic and the taxis that were trying to kill you and your petrol that's running out or whatever the thing may be, you're going to carry that over into your job. And in this medium that we're working in, you've got, because we shoot a scene every 40 minutes. Now, if you waste the first 10 minutes of settling yourself because you were late, you can never fix it, eh?
Yeah.
It's shot, it's done, it's finished and klar. And yeah, so by just arriving 10 minutes early, you can just calm down, and when you walk onto set, you can actually work. Instead of going, I don't know where this is, I don't know, do I want to do this? And a lot of time, there's like small little things, but every little picking up the cup, paging through a book, just getting up from that chair and walking to there, takes very careful planning from the actor, from the director, from the cameraman, from the lighting guys. So in a way, it's actually a little bit rude to all those other people because they were there 2 hours before you were. They've set up the lights already. They've set up the cameras. They've done all of that job. And then the actor or the actress arrives, and then you're late because you stood up, you woke up late, or because you had to do washing. It's just rude to everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the quickest way to make a crew.
Cut off, yeah.
They won't say a word, but they just go, right.
Yes, and it affects the whole production.
It does. And it makes the day weird, because the other actors obviously pick it up. And somehow those people never last long. There's always a process by eventually you go, okay, we can't do this anymore, and then they move on. And a lot of the times you don't ever hear from them again. Hey, it's discipline.
What I want to go to that's also important to me is you are currently the chairman of the TBF.
No, I'm not. I'm the vice chairman.
Or vice chairman.
Yeah, Barry Snow is the chairman still.
Okay. That's quite a helm to carry.
Yeah. Once again, Louis, because he was chairman for 12, 16 years. Wow. And he very calmly told me one day, I think it's time for you to join the board of the TBF, which was, I don't know, must be 15 years ago now, which I then did. Yeah, it's a terrifying place to be. Yeah, you progress. It's like, at the job. So as you learn more what needs to be done, because I started out with being the fundraiser. And luckily, because of technology and everything, that whole thing has changed quite a bit. So we've actually got a website and stuff now, and we've actually got a barcode and stuff that you can scan to donate money. But in the beginning, we literally, my first fundraising effort was selling books at that parking lot opposite the Market Theatre. Mm-hmm. There was a market there, and I used to get second-hand books and sell it there to raise funds for the TBF. And at that time, I think we had, I don't know, 4 or 5 beneficiaries. We've now got 48 people.
Permanent beneficiaries?
December last year, there were 36.
Because I say permanent because they also kind of come and go as people fall on hard times.
Yeah, they pass away. And then a few of them, there are a few that actually, they get sick. And then they have to go to the hospital. They can't work for a year or 2 years or whatever. But when they get better, they go, okay, cool, I'm fine now. And then we take them off the permanent beneficiary list again. But that's it's the old generation. They are now the 80s, 90s.
Sure.
So, yeah, and they didn't make provision, policies, investments, medical aid, all of that stuff. So now they're 89, and they've got nowhere to go. Sure. And what you must understand, by the time they end up with the TBF, because we don't give them a lot of money, because we've got to keep it under the social pension threshold, otherwise they lose the social pension. Social pension is 2,600 Rand a month. So we just give them a little bit more than that. And that's what they live on, eh?
Sure.
That is what they live on. That is for medication, accommodation, food,
travel.
89-year-old people. And most of them end up in a flat somewhere that's in the back of someone's property. And they just sit there, and these were people that were really, really, really famous. But like all artists, we think that we will always be able to act, or that we will die on a stage or in front of a camera. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, so it's in a weird way, the technology has helped the TBF a great deal, because we can reach more people quicker. And a lot of people with money are more aware, and it's tax deductible. So a lot of people use that as a tax deduction at the end of the financial year. And then we've got a few regular sponsors that gives us a lot of money every year. Yeah, and every year we send out, because the practicalities of sending stuff to 48 people all over the country is a little bit difficult. But once a year over Christmas, we put together like a care package. And the phone calls and the messages that we get from these people, that is the only present that they got that entire year is a care package from the Theatre Benevolent Fund.
Wow.
With toothpaste and socks and a warm thing to put on their head, gloves.
But we need to pay attention to this. Well, you mentioned something in a way now. It is possible to not die of hunger. I mean, Louis did it, Christine Basson did it. There have been many actors who passed away or ended their careers in quite a wealthy state.
Absolutely.
But it's planning.
Absolutely, it's planning. And it's putting something away when you have it. Toby Cronje is another one that is a brilliant example of an actor that did well, but he invested wisely. He bought a house and he paid the bloody thing off. He drives a cheap car. Toby drives like a 20-year-old Toyota. And I give him a why don't you? And he goes, no, this car's paid off. It's
works.
not breaking. It goes. It gets me where I need to be.
Yeah.
Sandra,
Yeah.
wise investments. But then there's a lot of people in that same age group that didn't.
I've got one final question. It's a quick one. It's on a scale of 1
the
to 10.
answers, the questions are not the problem.
My last one is a scale of 1 to 10. Back when we, years ago, we shot a Parley film, and it was an accident scene with a car, and Shireen asked you to come and help us, me and Andre and other students, to shoot the scene. On a scale of 1 to 10, how arrogant were we?
1 being worse or 10 being?
10 being very arrogant.
7.5.
I suspected such.
Yeah, it's also important, eh? I don't think arrogance is a bad thing. It is not a bad thing, because I've had some, especially with Diepe Waters, because we have a huge influx of young people, and a lot of them taught me a lot of stuff about confidence. The thing is that you need to be able to back it up, because I will absolutely, if you want to do a thing in a certain way, I will definitely give you the chance to do it that way, and I will change the shots. I will work the other actors around it, but then it's got to work. So you'll get your chance, and then if it doesn't work, then shaka. Other thing that I'm a firm believer in is because there's a big difference between being on this side of the camera and to do something that you think is going to get across in one way. Then all of a sudden, when you go and sit on the other side and you watch that same footage, you go, why did I do that? That is so stupid. So that is a thing that I do very often. Because we had a girl the other day that she rocks because she was nervous. It was her first day and it was a difficult scene. And she was rocking the whole time. And I said, just stop rocking. And she said, but I can't. I'm like restless and stuff. So I said, well, internalize it. Do the restlessness here. Use your eyes. I don't know, do your hands. I can give you a cloth. I can give you a coffee cup. I can give you a hat. But you can't keep on rocking because in the MCU, the camera keeps on doing that. And it makes you bloody nauseous. Didn't work. Eventually, shot the scene, finished. And I called her and I said, look. And she went, is that what I did? And I said, well, that's you. We just shot it.
It's not AI.
Stopped it immediately. So there is directors need to understand. That's why I think it's good to have a little bit of acting experience. You need to understand what the other person feels like, because it's bloody intimidating to stand in front of that thing and actually say a lot of words and act and talk to other people and hit your mark and not scratch your nose and not do this. And so you need to understand it, but one needs to curb it in a nice way so that you don't damage the actor. That being said, I'm also a bastard, so if people keep on giving me shit, then I have been pretty hard on people. But it also depends who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note of being hard on people, we're going to go to Q&A, and these kids are going to possibly be hard on us.
Go for it.
But we're going to take a quick break, and then we come back for some questions.
Fabulous.
Thank you, Gert. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Welcome back, Gert. This is the most difficult part of this whole interview.
I'm terrified.
We gave you electrolytes beforehand, everything, so let's hold thumbs. We've got a time period for 3 questions. Who is first?
My question for you is, in your entire career, which project that you've worked on, film or theatre, would you say brought you the most growth and learned you the most things that you have taken and used in the rest of your career moving forward?
I think I did a TV series with a gentleman called Johan Bernard. That was actually head of TV drama at the SABC at the time. And it was about a family, a Boer family living somewhere in the sticks. And it was set in one of those confrontations between the English and the Boer. I was playing this young boy that wanted to go to the war, but he was also in love with a girl. His father did not want him to go to the war because he did not agree with the politics at the time. And his father also did not approve of the girl that he was in love with because her father was in contradiction to his own beliefs regarding the politics. And he was, I don't know, 19, 20 years old. So on the one side, there was the male side of him that wanted to prove something to himself. And on the other side, it was his emotional side that wanted to be with this girl. And on top of that, at least 50% of the scenes that I shot was played on horseback, which I didn't know how to ride a horse at the time. So, and I really, it was a very long audition process, and finally I got the part, and Johan said to me, okay, it's done now you need to go and learn how to ride a horse. Sandra Kotze was head of drama at SABC at that time, and it was a big time production. And it was shot in the middle of winter on a farm out there by Magaliesburg somewhere. And the horse's name was Blackie. And he was a difficult son of a bitch. And he threw me off in training every single day. Every single day. And we just couldn't find each other. And finally, we started shooting. And something, when I had the wardrobe on, and the gun, and the horse, and the hat, and all the extras that were the other part of the commando thing, something happened in my head that transformed me from Gert, the actor, being afraid of the horse and unsure about what I was about to do, into this boy that was in love with the girl, in contradiction with his father, the girl's father, and that he was expected to go and kill other people. And I realized that following evening, after the first day of shooting, the horse threw me off again. I realized that the creative process led me into the psyche of this young boy. And Gert stepped away from it, and this boy took over. And it was the most amazing thing, because later on, as I said, it was in the middle of the winter. I had a scene where I had to be naked me and Nico Liebenberg, in this farm dam. And it was like, I don't know, it felt like -30. It was probably 5 or 6 degrees. But I remember taking off my clothes and walking into that water with Nico, who was a complete method actor, because Nico had the ability to switch Nico off completely and just do what needed to be done. And we shot the scene, and when Johan finally said cut and everything was over, then all of a sudden I started feeling the cold. And that is something that still sticks with me today, whether I direct or act or talk to people. There's a thing in my brain that swaps away from Gert, whether my car's broken down, whether the domestic worker didn't pitch, whether my bank account is in a complete mess. And it enables me to focus on that moment, apropos cup, and see things, what they need to be to get the story across.
So, as a fellow filmmaker student here at Poly and an actor student here, how do one keep balance being an actress or an actor and also being a filmmaker in the industry?
Remember that 20-minute speech that I said earlier about all the little components mattering? I think that's the trick. Because I do believe, and in my opinion, and this you must remember, all of this nonsense that I spoke today is just my opinion. If you ask the same question of someone else, you're going to get a completely different answer. But I do believe that an actor should be aware of the cups, the guys behind the camera, the standby props, the wardrobe cheek, the makeup standby. And equally, I expect the crew to have the same respect for the actors. Because I don't know if you've learned about it yet, or maybe you don't know about it, but there's a thing with not standing in the actor's eye line. And it was a difficult thing on Diepe Water specifically, because no one had ever told the crew to get the fuck out of the actor's eye line. Because now they're trying, we had a thing with Sandy Schultz the other day, and it's, I don't know, 5 or 6 setups, and she had to cry. And what I wanted to see the tears, but I did not, I did not want that. Which Sandy is one of the few actresses that can actually do that. So she did it, and then we did the next setup. And the setup was, the first little bit was seated, and then she stood up, and then that same emotion had to carry on. And did the first one, and I went to Sandy and said, that's cool, that's great, so we're going to do this, 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 this. Other thing that I believe is important, give everybody all the information so that they know what's going to happen next. Otherwise, half the people are going to stand around waiting for something that they might not even be needed, so they can actually go somewhere else and smoke. Went to Sandy, and she said, yeah, I'm not sure there's something there. I can't really see whether it's, because obviously the cameras has got to be in front of her. And it was one of the new crew members that didn't know to stay out of the actor's eye line. And small little things like that make a difference. So the bottom line, the answer to the question is, I'm not good on short answers, sorry.
Okay, no.
Is that if you have respect for everybody around you, then there won't be a problem. Because whether you do the props, whether you're the guy that's supposed to give the cup of coffee to the actor, or whether you're the director, it's all equally important. And I don't think you need to separate the issues. I don't think you should separate them at all. Because if I'm directing and the props person or the standby makeup person, that's actually a good example, the standby makeup person, because what she realized is obviously Sandy did the tears now with the seated, and obviously when she stands, we need to have equal amount of tears, continuity. And it wasn't necessary for me to go, Bianca, she was there. And the great thing is that she stood there, she didn't say a word to Sandy, not a word, because Sandy was in the zone and she was blah. But as we went board in, she went, and it was that sound of respect, that quiet silence of letting the actor do their work. And equally if the guy has to put the coffee, the guy has to put the coffee. For me to go and shout at him to hurry up, just because I want to get the scene done, there's no point. He's got to go and put down the coffee. And if he wants to wipe the rim because he thinks it will look nicer, let him do it. It's his pride, it's his job, and it's really important because you never know when the dickhead of the director was going to say, oh, close up on the cup, and then it's full of lipstick marks and it looks like cock. So I don't think, I don't like to separate. I like to know what the difficulties of my crew is. And I like to tell them what I expect and let them do their jobs.
Hello, Gert. How are you?
Lekker.
Yeah, good. So you've obviously worked on quite a bit of productions. Which one for you did you enjoy the most?
I did a series called Arende in my youth, yeah, before you were born, with a very difficult old man called Dirk de Villiers. But he was one of the stalwarts of the South African television industry with Scholes in Jamie Ace and those guys. They were sort of at the same time. And it was once again a boere thing in close to Hermanus on top of a hill. And what he did is he built a camp, a POW camp, and we actually lived there. So it was Ian Roberts, played the lead, and it was a very immersive experience, yeah, because we were there all the time, and it was the environment was prisoner of war camp, and it was very, very uncomfortable and very cold. And I think the reason why it will always stay with me is that it goes back to the first question. It sort of enabled you to immerse yourself in the situation and how difficult it must have been and how challenging it must have been. And there's, you know, it's like a playground, because you're there all the time and you're playing the whole time. So it's very enjoyable. Yeah, I don't know, that's not a good answer. But that is probably one of the acting productions that I enjoyed the most. Diepe Waters is still a hot favorite of mine, but it's probably because I'm very much immersed in it, and I've been there from day one, and I will switch off the lights when we go out. So I've got a great devotion to it, because it was a great opportunity in my life, which took me 25 years to get to. So sometimes you just have to live long enough to get something that you really want to do. And I think Roberta eventually just gave up, because I harassed her for like 3 months and said, there's no way, absolutely no way that you're going to do the show without me. This is something that I feel very strongly about. I love the scripts and I love the setup, because it was set in the swimming world, which I had absolutely no knowledge of. It was a great bunch of actors and an incredible crew. And it's very, very close to my heart, and I'm very emotional about it. And I enjoy every single day at it, even though they drive me up the wall most days. But I enjoy it very, very much. So I think, yeah, Arende, acting-wise, definitely. And it was a great part. I think Diepe Waters, unless I live long enough to do another show after this, will definitely end up as my favorite directing stint.
My question is, how as young actors can we join the TBF?
That's really, it's not, there's no membership. The TBF is an organization that looks after actors that are either too old or too sick to work. We've got a board of, because you legally have to, of 12 members. And that is actually the TBF, and the secretary, sorry, we've got a secretary as well. But that is actually all the TBF consists of. And because it's a charity organization, we try to keep the expenditure as low as possible. And then we've got a exco of 5 members, which do the day-to-day running, but those are in effect the only members of the TBF. People that can apply for help at the TBF is anyone that has worked in the industry for longer than 12 months on a professional basis.
You would like to volunteer?
To work with the TBF. Yeah. Thank you very much. That is awesome. Please get my cell phone number from Kaz and give me a call. Because part of our problem is that, scary as it is, I am the youngest member of the board, and I'm obviously not a youngster anymore, because people find it very difficult to work for a charity organization, because there's absolutely no rewards, except that one letter that you get every 2 years from one beneficiary that said the care package that they got from the TBF was the best thing that happened to them in 12 months. So that's the only reward that we get. And we obviously, it takes a lot of time. But back to your point, is that a new generation should start taking over. So my drive as vice chair is to get younger people involved, people that are willing to walk the walk and talk the talk, because it's an ungrateful job. It is really very unpleasant, and it's unpleasant all the time, because you only work with really sick, helpless, vulnerable people that are at the end of their lives. They've given their entire life to an industry that just goes, sorry, you can't remember the lines anymore. Yeah, but the newer generation, because unfortunately, everybody gets older. So the people that are now in their 40s and 50s, in 20 years' time, they will be the TBF beneficiaries. And then there should be a younger bunch of people to look after them. Because Louis' generation, they are slowly but surely diminishing. And there needs to be a new generation, otherwise it will just die. And as we know, the government is not great at looking after actors. So yeah, if you are interested in doing that, then we must definitely talk. And I would suggest that we put you on the board, because that's the only way to gain some experience. We have a AGM once every 24 months, which is open to everybody. Usually it's only the current board that pitches up for the meeting. The weird thing is now, because of social media and exposure that is so much easier, there are a lot more people, Abel can contest to this, that all of a sudden when they get into a difficult position, the TBF. So the demand is coming bigger. I was telling you earlier, yeah, I didn't tell you guys, but yeah. We had at the end of last year, which is 5 months ago, we had 36 beneficiaries, permanent beneficiaries that we give a little bit of money to every month. We now, on the 19th of May, we have 48. That is a scary number. That is really, really, really scary. And it goes across all the disciplines. It's dancers, TV, radio people, backstage people. We've got 2 stage managers now, lighting designers. There is also an organization that is specifically focused on technical crew. And they've done a lot, but they've run into financial difficulties because of lack of sponsorship. So they're scaling back a bit. So it wasn't necessary for us. We were always willing, but it wasn't always necessary for us to take on technical crew as well. But we are doing that as well now.
Thank you very much.
Gert, we've spoken a lot about Louis as well today. And as we come to an end, this book, I told you off camera, I actually inherited from Louis. I came to fetch it at your house, actually,
Yes,
after Louis passed. And he's the first person to sign it there. So I ask everyone who joins us on Footlights to sign it. Would you mind signing this book as well?
I would like to.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Sure.
I'm going to get so rich.
Yeah. Louis would love this. There was nothing more important to him than making sure that the new generation is looked after. And this was actually one of the things that he said before he passed, is that all his books, all his theatre books, all the biographies, and there was a lot of them, must go to Pali. For once, it's a short answer.
I don't think it needs more. Gert, as we end this, you've said to us from the beginning, you actually grew up in the arts. You were never given a freebie, even though you could have taken short routes, you were never given it. You worked for every single inch. And of all the wisdom you shared with us today, you're leaving this group, I can soon look at them, incredibly inspired, emotional, I must admit, but they are clear as to the road ahead, and they are most importantly clear as to how to improve the industry they are in currently. And that means more to me and to them than anything else. Thank you so much for what you've done and for what you did today.
Thank you very much for having me, and good luck, guys. Do your best every day. And if you land on my set, I'm actually not that bad.
Here, here.